Hey, what is up, YouTube? Kolst here. So I was not planning on making this type of video today, but there was a big announcement for Hearthstone, and I usually don't tend to talk about like Battlegrounds or general announcements, but I think this has some implications down the road for Arena. Currently, Arena is not getting impacted by this, but I think it will happen in the future. It's kind of a direction that Blizzard's going, and I'm being a little vague right now, but we'll get right into exactly what we're talking about here. And as I said in the title of this video, I think this is a very dark day for Hearthstone, at least from, the consumer experience and just a lot of things, which we'll get into. So what are the changes? So first of all, Blizzard made this announcement of Battleground Season 2. Okay, there's a lot of really interesting things. There's a lot of cosmetics and stuff, but there are two main changes. Personally, I just don't really care about. I'm not a big cosmetic guy in general. I buy them if I like them, but it's just what there is. But there are two main changes here that are really, really important. Well, there's actually three. So the first one is that Battlegrounds is getting its own rewards track, which means that you don't actually get the same type of experience in Battlegrounds. It's going into a completely different track. That just means if you are playing BGs, that's just going to be less gold for you, basically. The second change here is that Battlegrounds is getting its own season pass, which is kind of like, the tavern pass that you have to pay like $20 for. I don't think they announced a price here, but basically Battlegrounds is having its own separate season pass. And they're announcing here, Battlegrounds had the perks before, right? That you could pay gold. I think it was like 2,000 every 4 months or something. But they're announcing that you can no longer buy them with gold, and you can actually no longer buy them with money, which we'll get into in just a second. But yeah, there's another season pass you have to buy for Hearthstone. And then the third change is that this, as I said, you can't actually buy with money because you have to buy with Runestones. Runestones are going to be a new currency in Hearthstone, which are basically, it's like, from what I can tell off of like tweets and stuff, it's money, but you have to like buy this to buy other things with it. It's an intermediary currency to, act as a more predatory mobile game, basically, like every other game does. It skirts around some anti-gambling laws that certain countries have and stuff. That's the entire purpose of it, basically. There are some small upsides for the consumer, like they're allowed to sell you smaller items because, otherwise they might lose too much money off the transaction when it's a flat fee. But like for the most part, I mean, it's more of a predatory thing just to make more money off of people, basically. And there's like other stuff in this patch notes, but honestly, I mean, relative to everything else, I really don't care. New characters, whatever. There's a couple things in the FAQs though. I think the biggest note here is this comment right here, which is essentially, we used to be able to buy perks with gold, and they can't anymore because basically they say we needed to be able to extract more money from you. And this line right here, because if you're not aware, like one of the main upsides of the perks was that you were offered 4 hero choices instead of 2, which just means you have a higher chance of getting the OP heroes. And they're saying here that we're committing to maintaining hero and gameplay balance. The choice of 4 heroes is more about optionality than power, implying that the game is balanced right now, which it is not. I mean, Battlegrounds isn't particularly balanced right now. I don't really cover Battlegrounds much, but like there's always going to be OP heroes, right? Like you can have some kind of pipe dream that everything's going to be perfectly balanced and it's all going to be great. But whenever a balance discussion comes up, they'll be the first to tell you that it's completely fucking impossible to actually have everything perfectly balanced, right? They'll be the first to tell you this, but they'll also put in this patch notes, oh yeah, we're just going to make everything perfectly balanced and this won't be a disadvantage. No, it's like they're lying to us. It's an insult to your intelligence, basically. It's completely bullshit and they know it's bullshit. And so anyway, I don't know, like I felt like, I'm in a position where I don't, I'm not dependent on Blizzard's support or something. There are certain creators you will see on like Twitter and stuff that aren't really willing to call this stuff out for what it is, but I feel like in my position I have a responsibility to call this out for what it is, because this is bullshit, right? Because this is the key point of this, is that this is the end of Hearthstone being a true free-to-play game. As it is, in Arena, one of the big upsides of Arena is that you can actually fight on an even playing ground. You do have to buy the ticket, right, which you can do with either gold, in-game resources, or money, but at that point you're on a totally level playing field. And generally speaking, in Hearthstone, you might not have all the cards, but you can at least have a good deck to play on an even playing field against other people that have possibly just one good deck. But this is really the first time in Hearthstone they've created this kind of situation where it is truly pay to win. You cannot have the maximum win percentage, you cannot have the highest MMR without paying. And it's actual money. It's completely impossible. And part of this has to do with the runestones. So runestones, they've said here that you cannot earn them in game. They are only purchasable with money, and these are going to replace a lot of the real money purchases. And as I said, there are some upsides to this, but also it's like, it's just creating the situation where you buy more than you need and then you waste it. It's predatory. They do say for certain items like pre-purchase bundles, the $50 or $80 bundles, or the tavern pass, for example, you can pay them with money, but a lot of the other items are going into this new currency. I think it's worth mentioning, though, that, they do say, like Celestial on one of the Hearthstone devs on Twitter does say that everything basically purchasable with gold except for the Battleground Season Pass will still be purchasable with gold. And that includes, he specifically called out tavern tickets, which is arena tickets, right? So as far as arena, we're theoretically not impacted right now. However, I think this is really important to talk about because this is the direction the game, I think, is going to be going. I don't know, maybe they get enough heat from this that they end up falling back on this, but honestly, I don't think they will. I think this is just what's going to go. There's talk about like trying to make arena more accessible in some way or something to make it more popular, and maybe doing like an economic overhaul on arena, but this is exactly the shit they're going to try to pull, frankly, right? They're going to somehow make the game like either pay to play or pay to win in such a way that you can't, subvert with like gold or something, right? This is what's going to happen, which is why whenever I think it's really naive of people that tend to like encourage this kind of stuff, because it's not going to make it a better experience, especially if you just want to play like a bunch of arena. Any of these kind of changes is going to be really negative. And I have on my Twitter another take about this. I have a lot of other takes on my Twitter that some of these I probably don't want to put into YouTube because they're a little too hot, a little too spicy for YouTube. But you can always check out my Twitter for some of these as well. And because this is my Twitter here at kolst IRL, and as I say here, I respect the boldness of the strategy. They made like, there's like 2, maybe even 3 changes, honestly, that are like some of the worst changes they've ever made in Hearthstone from a player experience perspective. They're making all simultaneously, kind of all as a side note as well. It's just really bold. You gotta respect it. It's really, they're just like, okay, we're just gonna throw all this out here, and probably they can't even get too much negative attention because it's just so much all at once. It's a good strategy, honestly. I really applaud them for that. And I also have the take here about arena monetization. And there was like Jay Alexander, who I kind of, sometimes I honestly make fun of him for some of the pro rogue things he says, but like there's pretty much everyone, almost every like Hearthstone creator, like Zeddy has a whole bunch of takes as well on like how bad this is. There's like only very few creators that are not calling this out for what it is. And it's very interesting to see just who's willing to, sell themselves to Blizzard enough to actually, not call this out for what it is, I think. But that's all I'll say on this video right now. If you want more of my spicy takes, you can go to my Twitter or my Discord or something, and there's a little bit more detail there. But with that, it's about, I guess, all I had to say for this video, because yeah, it's just kind of the direction things are going. I expect maybe in the next year or 2, they might push arena in this kind of direction where you can't really have the maximum win rate without spending money. I hope not, but maybe we'll see how this all goes. But yeah, anyway, after this, hopefully we'll go back to regular content. But thanks a lot for hanging out, everyone. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, comment, all these things. And by the way, I'm planning on doing another tier list video at some point, so let me know again like what kind of tier list videos you might want to see, because I think these are kind of fun to do. So might start recording that right after this. Thanks a lot again for hanging out. Oh, and by the way, I'm actually planning on doing a YouTube stream because Twitch actually sent me an email that I'm allowed to stream on YouTube now. So I can't simultaneously stream on Twitch and YouTube, but I can actually stream on YouTube. So I'll do at least like a run or 2 at some point. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, thanks a lot again for hanging out. We'll see you guys in the next one.